Hello, greetings to all. Thank you so much for letting me speak in the IVCEIS 2021. Today, I'd like to present about my research, which is called Generalized Cost of Freight Multimodal System in Java. First of all, I'm Laras. I'm from Faculty of Engineering, Universitas Indonesia in Indonesia. Okay, so we go to the introduction phase. Why do I think this research is important? As all we know that Indonesia is a very large country that consists of more than 16,000 islands, which has their own unique logistic system. But the logistic system or the transport or freight transport in Indonesia still not optimum, which even though it's already introduced the idea of multimodal in Indonesia in 2012 from the government regulation called Peraturan Menteri number 8. Why the multimodal transport in Indonesia is still not optimal? Because of some various factors. First of all, complexity of licensing, unreliable lead time, which makes it still dominated by land transport by 75.3% and cost in high logistic costs. And then because of that's the idea to make a multimodal system as an alternative to improve freight transport network. Why multimodal system is very important? Since multimodal system is able to support regional economic growth and be able to reduce negative impacts on the environment and energy consumption. So that because of that, the multimodal system is very important. And how to improve the multimodal system itself, it needs a variable, which in this research called generalized cost. I believe generalized cost is able to increase effectiveness of multimodal system. So that in this research, I would like to analyze about generalized costs based on affecting factors. Okay, what is the purpose of this research basically? The purpose of this research is to analyze the generalized cost of multimodal freight transport using the main modes, which are truck, train, and ship, based on factors from the perspective that I surveyed itself based on the business actors, which are freight forwarders and shippers. And how this paper is basically ordered. First, the section 1, you can see the introduction and literature review. The section 2, which is called talk about the methodology itself, which are data resources, factors used in the generalized cost, stated previous monetization factors to determine the cost value of the generalized cost factor. And the section 3 is about the result of the survey in the generalized cost model, and section 4 is about conclusion and suggestion for further research. Alright, we will not be able to see how this research is basically mean without we know of the literature review itself. The literature review in this research are multimodal freight transport, which are the using of more than 2 mode transportation to provide travel network from origin to the destination. And Indonesia, which already introduced before, it's written in the government regulation, which are based on the one contract as a multimodal transport document from a place where goods are received by a multimodal transport business entity to a place specified for the delivery of goods to recipients of multimodal transport goods. And then the affecting factors of mode choice. What is the affecting factors? What is the things that makes freight forwarder and shippers to influence themselves to transport some goods or some items? There are some references that I read that is talking about some various of variables that they use in their research. The common things is transport cost, reliability, lead time, item and characteristic, frequency, and flexibility. And then what is the generalized cost itself? Generalized cost itself is all costs involved in overcoming time and space that are calculated at an institution to minimize costs while maintaining a certain level of service. So the generalized cost is the monetization of every variables that you use to know what makes a influence for the transportation of freight transportation itself. It can be monetized into many, or it can be monetized into distance, or it can be monetized also into time. Okay, so there are some methodology that I use for this research. First of all, I need to know how or what basically the factors that influence of people behavior of using a mode choice in a freight transportation, and for that factors I analyze it, or I make forms of a survey in an analytical hierarchy process. The analytical hierarchy process is a method to obtain a representation of complex problem in multi-level structure where there are objectives, factors, subcriteria, and alternatives. So based on the references that I already gather from different papers, what kind of factors that they basically use to analyze a freight transportation model. So I come up into a conclusion that most likely there are six variables that they are used, which are, you can tell from the presentation right here, which are transportation cost, reliability, lead time, frequency, flexibility, level of damage or loss of goods, which the definition you can also read it over here. And since AHP is a multi-level structure, we can tell that the main idea, the basic goal for this process is to know what is the very main factors that freight forwarders and shippers that influence to do freight transportation based on the 6 variables that I already choose in the beginning. Then it becomes the criteria, the 6 variables itself, and then in each criteria there are alternatives, which are the modes that is being researched. Okay, the data over here is using the preferences of a business actors, which are freight forwarders and shippers in Java. Why in Java, which from a million islands in Indonesia, since the economic growth is still centered in the Java island, which we can tell from the national GDP, which contribute to the nation around 58.5%. And to conduct a survey to find out the main factor that influence the choice of modes for generalized costs of freight transport. So the AHP itself, we need to decide how many scales that we want to analyze it. So over here I do it from 1 until 9, which it's based on the importance of how the variables itself. So AHP is you comparing between 2 variables, for example transport cost and reliability and lead time and so on. Between that you make it into scale, and you choose which one is more into your preference. Okay, and after that, after you got what is really the factors that influence business actors to do a freight transport activity, we do the stated preference, which called SP. SP is used as a choice modeling category in the form of a discrete choice model. The model is able to facilitate calculation in monetizing the analyzed factors in the form of cost or money. Over here, I use a hypothetical condition which are from Jakarta to Surabaya. Why do I choose that? Because from what I learned, from what I gathered, that those origin and destination using those three modes that I analyze, which are truck, train, and ship. And I'm using the hypothetical condition for each variable, which are the result from the AHP. The most influential variables are transport cost, lead time, and reliability. I got the hypothetical condition from doing a survey to the freight forwarder and a shipper. Then these are the results from the survey that I use for the hypothetical condition and a stated preference. And from that, I divide it into some levels. Over here, I divide it into three levels, which are level first is lower than the existing one, and the level third is a bit higher from the existing one, which are the level 2. Based on the original orthogonal design, the combination was 3 roots 3, where there are 3 factors that resulted in 27 combinations. And how to reduce respondents' confusion and fatigue, the alternatives are simplified to 9 combinations only. The simplification uses a full factorial design with each level, in which in the study there are 3 levels for each attributes, which are variable of transport cost, lead time, and reliability combined for each other level for each other attribute. It can summarize all the main condition and interaction between variables in the dataset. And after that, I'm doing a comparative analysis. What is the comparative analysis? That I compare the generalized cost between 3 modes from the same origin and the destination. After that, I'm doing a model development. So basically, to get a model of a generalized cost, it came from a utility model itself. So the model will provide input in the form of a utility model where there are 2 variables consisting of an observed components, which is phi, and a random component, which is epsilon. So phi is based on my research. The observed components that I do based on the AHP analysis are the variables result, which are transport cost, lead time, and reliability. And the random component is the variables that I didn't research into this, since from the AHP analysis is not really high rank, since it's based on the comparative analysis itself. And for this research, I gathered 36 of reviews from business actors, which are located in which the destination and origin in the Java Island itself. So we can tell from the model development, here it is. And then the following is a generalized cost based on the utility function. From the utility function, I try to make the utility function itself that is matched, that is suitable for my research, are alpha transport cost plus beta lead time plus gamma reliability plus epsilon, which from this utility function we can know the value of lead time and the value of reliability. The value of lead time is how much money that you want to spend to minimize 1 hour of travel. And value of reliability is how much money that you want to spend to increase the delay of your freight transport. So the value of lead time is VOT, which is beta divided by alpha, and value of reliability, which are gamma divided by alpha. from that function, then we can make a function of generalized costs, which are transport costs from door to door, from I to G. I is refers to the origin and G refers to the destination. A1, if it is a lead time for the TT, the A is reversed to the value of lead time, and then A2, if R is reversed to reliability, then A2 is reversed to the value of reliability itself. So from this research, I got the utility function over here of three modes, which are track, train, and ship, which we can see from the screen, and after that the result and discussion. Okay, from the survey I was conducted of 19 freight forwarders and 17 shippers who have authority to make decision making in Java with various commodities. Over here, the commodities that they shape, I try to aggregate it again. That are consist of bulk, general customer goods, special commodities, and the others that others, which mean doesn't belong to any of the others. Okay, from this figure we can see that the highest factors that makes freight forwarder and shipper wants to use some certain of modes are reliability, transport costs, and the lead time. And then we can see also from each variable how many preferences of the business actors to choose the mode itself. So for example, from the reliability, the business actors choosing more into train other than choose more to the truck, then train, and a little bit to the ship. From this figure, we can also know that the result, which are coming into three variables, is in line with the reasons of the respondents, who are people directly related to the process of selecting modes in a logistic activity. The reliability factor itself, or timeliness, is crucial, considering that delays in delivery of goods can increase lead time, which make the shipping costs, which are part of the transport costs. Different commodities do not have a significant influence on the choice of mode selection factors, based on the result of interviews with several business actors. The alternative obtained from the survey result are still dominated by the modes of truck, which are 0.5, trains 0.24, and ships 0.17. This is in accordance with the current condition of selecting the mode of transportation of goods in Indonesia itself, which are unfortunately still dominated by the truck mode, which has high transportation and infrastructure costs and frequent accidents and congestion. In Indonesia, the average proportion of travel by road modes is still dominated, 75.3%, which answer the result of the survey itself. Okay, to convince the model is good or not, is useful or not for the analysis, I do some statistical tests of the model, which are doing comparison of the chi-squared count that is greater than the chi-squared table, influence factor with a z value to determine the order of the most influential factors based on a significance value of 5%, and the coefficient in the negative value model indicates that an increase in each variable will decrease utility or decrease a person's willingness to choose an alternative. Okay, so this is the result of the value of time and value of reliability of each transportation modes. From this result, we can tell that the value of time of truck is higher than the other modes, and the reliability of truck is also higher than the other of the modes. This result indicates that the business actors in the truck mode are willing to pay 175,079 rupiah per delivery to be able to save time for 1 hour, while they are willing to pay 1.181 thousand million rupiah per delivery to reduce the variance of lead time in the form of a delay for 1 hour. There are differences in the preference for reducing the time variance from one mode to another. The truck mode, according to its characteristics, has a high level of delay due to congestion or other obstacles such as the absence of adequate infrastructure. This is different from other modes such as trains, where there are still few available rails in certain areas, and sea modes, which take longer time due to depending on unpredictable weather conditions. Okay, so from the VOT and VOR, I tried to get to know about the case study itself. I put it in the case study from Jakarta to Surabaya. Then we can tell the generalized cost is higher in ship other than in a truck and train, since even though the value of reliability itself is the lowest and the value of lead time itself is the lowest also. This is happening because the characteristic of ship itself that is very unreliable, most likely due to the weather. We finally come up to the conclusion. From this research, we can conclude that the influencing factors that is affecting business actors in Java, Indonesia are transport costs, lead time, and reliability with alternative modes of trucks, trains, and ships. The VOT and VOR values of truck are still the highest compared to the other. The long lead time and the low level of reliability of ships, the value of the largest generalized cost in the ship. Okay, so basically the longer lead time, the time that the ship needs to go from one place to another place is longer, and the reliability is very low, meaning that the ship is most likely delayed due to the weather condition. It makes that the generalized cost itself between three modes, the ship is the highest. Expansion of the wider scope will provide a more valid picture of the logistic conditions in Indonesia. Use of the other monetization factors such as frequency, flexibility, and the level of damage or loss of goods is certainly able to provide a better picture of the generalized cost, especially for different commodities. It can be used as a reference in determining future transportation policies made by the government. So the policy itself could be increase the competitiveness in the logistics sectors. And then here are some references that I used to do my research. Alright, thank you so much for the time, and I hope my research could give you at least an idea of how the freight transportation system working in Indonesia, especially in Java, and how the condition of the freight transportation itself in Indonesia. Thank you very much.